All right. Hi, everybody. Today's video is sort of about Excel basics. We're not going to get into any of the kind of crazy formulas that sometimes I can use to help kind of mesh data and such like that. Today's really sort of your boot camp for the universal program, the indispensable program. Everybody, spreadsheets, hooray. Um, it's the easiest way to share and translate data because it's going to be readable by the most number of people, or the highest number of people. So yeah. Are there times when Excel is pretty clunky and it doesn't graph well, by the way? We'll get to Prism later. Um, but at the end of the day, it does a pretty decent job at organizing and getting things set up. So especially if you keep a lab journal and a notebook, things like that, electronically having links to sheets like this can be a way to store tons of data. So what we're looking at today is faux data from my biology education study where I kind of track a bunch of factors and see how exams go, things like that. The numbers are all mixed up because whatever, even though I do have an IRB, and this would theoretically be the supplemental table to that publication. It's just easier to mix it all up so that everybody's happy and you don't have to, nobody tries to find themselves in these data. Um, so what we're going to do is just kind of use this as an example. I didn't want to use my cancer stuff because it's just huge and I didn't want to make it all about hey, look, the class is just about cancer biology. So this is sort of a cool medium. It's education studies. So we got a lot of cool different variables in here that we'll be able to kind of use for our purposes here. Number one, we can take a look around. We can see that we have certain variables like right here, an exam score, that's a percent right there. That's sort of that continuous nice variable. And it can sort of be, as you can tell with the decimals, it can be like any sort of number, right? Like there's technically no number it can't be because we can use decimal. Obviously, like how the points are, that there's not infinite options or something. We have a random ID right here. Everybody's currently arranged like that. We also have some Likert scale data right here. Nothing crazy. We have some categorical data right here, low, medium, and highs, certain different APRs, athletics, performance, or ROTC stuff right here, more Likerts, and then some yes and no's type stuff. So plenty of different kinds of data. We'll also in this video see today how to turn quantitative data into something categorical for any purposes that we might want. So tip number one, when using data, here it is. And it seems like an extra step because you might want to just be like, I'm going to dig into this data right away. Nope. Version one, okay? You always leave your raw data pristine. Don't touch it. Because if you ever have to go back in time after you do something, you know that you have a safety net, okay? It seems strange and it isn't another step. So it's okay. So our first tool, hold the control button, and Mac users, sorry, I think most of the time I say control, it's going to be command, like Apple button or whatever, or command button or whatever. But get with the program. This is a Windows world. Control A. And as long as I'm selecting one piece of data, see, I was selecting that, it will control A and it will copy, it will click everything and highlight everything connected to that data. Now, if I had controlled A down here next to nothing, it will actually take the entire sheet over. That's fine if you want to do that. We don't necessarily need to. If I do a different thing right here and I say all right, random, 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 random. See those little things right there? If I do control A and I'm connected to those data, see how it will not touch the data up there with control A. So I'm going to delete those randomnesses. So I'm going to go back up here. I need to move this raw data over there, over to a new sheet. I'm going to do control A, that selects all. I'm going to do control C for copy. I'm going to paste it right where it was. Hooray. Control B for paste. As you get used to things, obviously these commands are sort of available in one of these places. I guess it's been a while since I've not used the commands, but there are copy paste commands that are more manual, but there's not going to be a better way to kind of move faster than to at least be using the shortcuts. Sort of like becoming an excellent StarCraft player, am I right? So as you can scan around, obviously everybody knows how to highlight stuff, hooray. Make sure that when you are highlighting stuff, that you don't see how I'm clicking right there and there's that little cross right there. Don't grab it. When it's a hard border like this, it means you are moving that data somewhere. And you are not just highlighting something new. And look, it's oh no, there's data here. Do you want to move the data you just did? Oh my God, horrible. a lot of Excel sheet data that I've had students work with, or even me, it happens to the best of us. People think they're highlighting something and they accidentally drag it and plop it somewhere. That's why you get the warning. But let's say that I just made that mistake. Meet your best friend. Hold Control Z. That will undo. That undo option is also up here. And you can see it's going to give you that shortcut. Now, let's say that I want to make that mistake, right? And I want to do that again. You actually can do the reverse. Control Y to redo. Yeah, I can't redo because I'm in the future right now. But those are a couple other like very key needs that we can have. So cool thing that we've got going on here. We got this big set of data. Hooray, it's pretty large. Let's say that we want to look into a couple things, right? Let's look into one of the more obvious responses in a classroom, attendance percentage, right? Let's take a look. Now, given where I'm at, there's attendance right there. You can always use like the highlight stuff if you want to like kind of be able to find your data that you need, but don't let the colors get too crazy because it can get overwhelming for new readers then if you've like left too many notes. But here's attendance. If I want to be able to read this row a little higher, I can grab this right here and extend the width, lower it, anything I want. And if you just want it automatically to fit everything that's in that column, just double click it and it'll all come out. As you can tell right here, we got some big decimals going on in these data. They're fine like that, but if they're really bothering you, you can always use these decimal tools to like show fewer amounts. I don't know. It's not a huge deal to me. I think like 2 is fine, but like at the end of the day, like I don't really mind it as the raw input that we had. It's totally kind of your call. So we've got this attendance. We're currently arranged though by random ID number. I want to arrange us by attendance. I want to see what happens with that. Now the problem is could I like sort each row up and down here? I guess, right? So I would say like, all right, like I want these 3 right here. What I'm doing right there is by highlighting and clicking the row number right there and then holding, I can actually highlight the entire row. So before we do the real way we're going to do this, I'm going to teach you a couple of tools here. What I can do if I wanted to put these 3 at the top for whatever reason, I can hit Control X. That is cut. What cut's going to do, it's not going to copy, it's going to cut it out of here, and it's going to move it where I want. What I can do next, click right there. Once I have that click, you right click and you give the option Insert Cut Cells. This will move the 3 that are highlighted in the little bubble right there. 1, 2, 3. They will move up there like that. So if you need to do that, it's a perfect way to like kind of move some data around. Again, I like to always be moving big stuff like here. So even though this is going to go off into infinity over here, that doesn't matter. I have the entire thing ready. Because if I highlight like this and I'm like, oh, I'm going to cut and paste up to down here or something, I may lose the order of these ones right here, right? Or it may jumble, maybe in the wrong spot. So another cut and then insert that I can do, for example, if I'm really secure about attendance, like this is going to be my main thing, and I want to get it over to the left, I can click the entire column. And again, like I said, it goes into infinity. That's fine. Because I'm taking everything and being sure. Control X. I'm going to put it over here, insert cut. And see, that was a nice little shift over there. Perfect. And everybody's still in the right place. Nobody's mixed up. So in this case, though, am I really going to manually sort through all these and find like who's at the top and who's at the bottom? No way. So go back, Control A. Highlight everything. Go to Data. Go to Sort. And now your data has headers. Right now, Excel will always want to sort on the Y, like up and down. You can technically tell it, oh, I want to sort left to right. That's only if your data is formatted this way. Most data is going to be sort top to bottom. All right. So I can sort on any of these columns right here. And obviously it gets a little hairy when like we have this much data, but it's manageable in this case. That's why we didn't use the cancer data. But I want to sort on attendance. Perfect. Look at that. You can even have colors, fonts, anything like that. You can actually be sorting and like coloring them and stuff. Like that's kind of a special thing. Like if you want to highlight certain things, it'll sort by the highlight. But really, we're just going to do values, right? We want the number. And that's the default, so you don't have to change anything. Order to smallest, largest to smallest. Yeah, I'm going to do smallest to largest. Let's take a look here at class. Okay, So we have an attendance percent right here kind of showing up. So next little thing, and I think you guys have probably seen me speeding around like this, the sheet, like running around like that, like kind of fast. Should have shown you this shortcut first. So if I'm on the sheet, first little step, hit control. And now if I hit any of the arrows, it will take me to the edge of the data. Want to see what happens if I'm out of the data and I hit down right here, control, down. I go to the infinite bottom, the depths of the Excel. Now if I hit control to the right, I'm in the farthest corner of the Excel. See that? Kind of, yeah, kind of creepy. This is like the back rooms of Excel, basically. All right, so we go back up there. Now, another cool thing that you can do is say that I want to highlight attendance, for example. I can hit control. Now a lot of people do this where it's like, I'm going to drag this whole thing very quick and it makes you look like a pro. Hold control, hold shift, hold down. You got the whole thing right there. Now I can copy, paste, whatever I'm doing with that. So that's my little like speed Excel trick. It's a good little spot to remember. I'm going to expect that for anybody I'm assessing. All right, so attendance is now arranged nicely, right? It's pretty nice. We've got some low attendance here, some similar values, and then things start to crest at 90. We got a bunch of hundreds too. Good job, nerds. Thank you. Now, a cool tool, this is like less functional, but if you want to highlight all of these, for example, and you want to sort of like have these as a visual, there's something very cool called conditional formatting, where you can just go to color scales. I can say, thank you, I know. And you can do a bunch of different color scales. So in this one, there's a default where it's like green is high, red is really low. It's kind of fun to like be able to like kind of visualize that sometimes. And I can do that with other data and things like that. Like exam scores, I could do that with, et cetera, et cetera. It will ignore values that are letters. So like W right here means the student dropped, or an X means that student didn't do that rating or didn't take that test or something. It'll just ignore those values since we're saying like those are not a number. But as you can tell, it's a scale. So the reddest red is just that zero, and that zero is kind of going to overwhelm it. So like sometimes you'll have data with like an extreme number at the end like this, and it'll kind of take away some of the color. But honestly, it's still a pretty good little scale right there. And in here, you can also design your own rules, as they call them. And you can like do your own color scale and stuff. See, pretty cool. So I'm gonna get rid of that though. Still looking at attendance. So I promised you that we could, make a categorical variable based on a quantitative one, right? What do we want to say for attendance? I want to make this into a yes and no variable, right? In my mind, I think an easy one was what we're going to do here. We're going to make room for this new variable. I'm going to highlight that column. I'm going to insert right there. And I'm going to say high attend. What I'm going to say is that on the bottom down here, where we have all of our high attenders, I'm going to say, just going to call them a yes, right? Now right here, I can copy this yes, and this data set's pretty small, and I can scroll up to where I want my cutoff to be. I'm going to say you're a high attender if you made it to 90% of classes. I'm going to give you the thumbs up on that. I'm going to control paste, and then I'm going to do my little quick trick, hold shift, hold control all the way down, control V, paste. Nice, good job. Sorry. So, no, you did not attend enough. Sorry, Mr. 88. There you go. All the rest of you were no's. So that is a very good way. When you are swimming in quantitative data, there are plenty of ways that you can convert that into a categorical variable. It's not, and like the decision to do 90 should be based on certain things. In my case, that means that you miss one class per third of class. If we have 30 classes, one class per pre-test, it's not the end of the world. In a lot of cases, that's a good cutoff that we've seen sort of in the lit, and that's where you can find guidelines for that. Again, as long as you say what you're doing and you stick to it, it's okay. Like people can at least see it. And again, like we talked about in the previous video, if you're showing all your cards anyway, you got nothing to hide. It's okay. People can go investigate if you want to do 85% if they want it. Okay, sweet. We're actually doing pretty well so far. So what I would actually want to do here, and if you want, this can actually help right here. If I just want to say, like, if I want to color this a little bit, I'm just doing a drag and drop right here. I'm going to give this a nice, sad, like, like a gross, like salmony red color for like bad, naughty students for leaving class or not coming enough. I'm going to give these students a nice, happy green color for attending. Hooray. That can kind of help me as I do some next steps here. So I have my notes here. I'm going to decide what we should do. Sheets, drafts. I don't want to cross stuff out of my notes. Should do, I intend. Yeah. So another small but fun tool that I want to use here is Control F. And then we'll see there's an excellent function for that too. So Control F, when you're in a big data set, this will find you something. So I want to say, I want to find attendance. All right, there we go. I found both of my attendance categories. Let's say also there's a sort of hidden data tool to Control F. Let's say instead of high attendance and a yes or no, that sounds kind of dumb. I want to say instead of no, I want to say low. Replace all. All of my no's just became lows. And instead of just saying yes, high attendance, I'm just going to call all of these people. I'm going to highlight them. Control F. And notice if I don't change the parameters, I'm like, hey, replace all no's with lows, but I've only highlighted yeses right here. Replace all. There's nothing there. If I say yes, and then I'm going to convert this to, I'm going to call this high instead. Place all. Perfect. 95 replacements. Looks good. So that's another quick tool. Speaking of quick tools, oh no, I think you guys can see my screen right here. On the bottom right here, my zoom is kind of blocking it. There should be a little like there should be a little shortcuts where if you highlight all of a column and how many cells, oh, there it is. Yeah, there's count. It will tell you how many cells that you just highlighted are filled with data. It will not count blank ones. Another fun little trick is going to be not only count, but if you have numerical data, you're going to get on the bottom a sum and an average immediately without having to do any equations. So if you're just looking for quick hits, for example, perfect. So let's say using this, I'm just going to take a look at very quickly and without doing any like formulas yet, I'm just going to highlight all these the final class percent of all the people that were low attendance. You can see, I'm going to move my little Zoom screen. The average on that was 69.39% in the class. Not ideal, right? Here, let's do this up here. So that was just a quick one. I'm not recording. You can record that in your notes if you want. Then I would highlight this one for the high attendance, go down. The average score in the class was an 82.6% in that case for everybody that attended 90% plus. So if I want to make that official though, let's give this a shot, right? So let's go down to class percent. Let's go down here. I want to say, and I'm gonna go right here for now. I'm gonna make some categories down here. I'm gonna say low attendance and high attendance. No, give me that gross little red that I made you. I'm gonna make just some super quick little stats right here. And again, if you've already know how to do this, sorry, but this is the Excel basics tutorial. Maybe you can kind of just speed through. So I'm gonna say equals average for low right here. I'm just gonna go to my lows. Done. Next. Now, if I copy this down, it's like, oh no, what happened? My little blue pool, my selection pool right here is obviously it only moved down one because I only pushed it down one cell. There are certain cases where moving this manually like this can help, especially if you're just using adjacent data for stuff. Most of the times I would just re-highlight everything. But again, nothing wrong with some brute force dragging once in a while. There you go. So, and again, if I want to make this even more sort of official, what you can do is go back up here and say, I'm going to get all these little factors up here that I'm trying to make like this table of. Control V. Okay. So now that I have everything arranged by low and high, now if I just drag this over, see how it's just gonna highlight. So low attenders, what's their average? It's going to grab that same pile, just one over. So we'll learn how to do some more advanced stuff when we like kind of lock it or do anything else. But for the most part, assume that if you're taking and copying something, and what you can do to copy is grab this little lower right corner, hold, pull it on over, done. And equally, let's get the lab scores for everybody that was high and low attendance. Yeah, I mean, what'd you expect? Perfect chance for some conditional formatting. There you go. Looks pretty green on one side and a little red on the other, right? So one other control shortcut that I should have been using this whole time is Control S. That will save your progress. So we've done some big stuff here. Hooray. Control S is good. If you want to be extra safe, you would do a V2 sheet. You would leave everything behind that we've done here and say, you know what, I'm going to mix something. I'm going to do something new down over here. And to what I just did, you saw I highlighted the entire sheet. To make sure that you copy that over, you have to do A1 and then paste. So watch, if I don't do that, it's like, hey, that's too many cells because I highlighted all the cells. There you go. So let's make a quick little mistake here. So notice how these are all live right now, right? These are all still hunting and finding numbers in that batch. Let's say that I just go back and I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to sort my data again. Here, I'm going to move back down here. I'm going to sort my data again. I'm just going to sort it by random ID number again. Did you see those all change? Look, I'm all jumbled, right? My highs and lows are just back to random IDs, right? But the formulas aren't. They're still looking where I had those sorted. So be very careful when you're sorting. So I'm going to go back in time and fix this. Ready? Back, sort. Okay, so we're back. So what you can do is once you have results like this, Control, right click, and do this right here. Values. Once you paste your results as values, now if I go and do more, more studies or something, let's say I want to arrange it from quiz 1 or something, these all got screwed up because they're still feeding an equation, but there's my old results. I can move on and do something else now. And recording those as the control, right click to paste special. That's the key. Values only, they're just locked in as numbers. They're not going to change anymore. It's perfect. Okay. So let's go back in time a little bit. Nice. All right, so we're back in here. Now, let's say that I wanted to, instead of do average, given that I have this little equation here, I can do something. I can make a very quick change to median, hit enter, and I'm going to do the same down here on this one and this group. See how this group's highlighted here? So I do the same down here. Array. Done. And then go over. Perfect. You can change what you're after each time. And each time that you do this, for example, you can say, all right, they're the medians, right? Let's say right here that I want to do quartile range. Quartile range array. Oops, I added a so I'm doing advanced. So we did IQR, I think, before. You can look at IQR and stats if you're kind of fresh to the video, but I'm just doing a different equation here. I want the 25th percentile right here for labs. I'm going to do the same here and adjust this one. Oh, well, gotta spell. There was a horrible spelling mistake in my last video, if you didn't notice that. So what I'm doing in the equation too is that the array is the group in the blue right there that I'm judging from. Plenty of equations demand that a comma happen and then a new like input happens here. This second input in this case is like which quartile do I want? So in this case, I want the bottom one in this case. And some will auto do it for you, but others you kind of need to know the language that it wants. But again, once you have these groups all set up, you can start just using data like this all you want. I can say right here, control, copy. And I'm going to do 25 percentile right there. You can keep taking, oops, I didn't record, I didn't get the whole thing. You can keep taking data and kind of working with it like that. So very fun. And the cool thing is, let's see, duplicated data. What you can do as well is, I don't know if we have like I don't know if I have a ton of time to show you guys, because I know this video is getting a little up there. But let's say you have a sort of a busier categorical variable. So right here in this data set, that's going to be majors. That's kind of busy. So what you could do right here, if you just wanted to know which categories I have, instead of sorting and then counting, what you can do is highlight this, and you can go anywhere and do this if this is just your own goal. Get them all as just data. There's a great set in the data set right here that says remove duplicates. I've highlighted all of these 162 responses. I want to remove the duplicates so that only the unique majors are there, and I'll know how many majors that these students totally spanned, right? 36 unique values remaining. That's a lot still. We kind of let the rules off on this, but there are some that are shared, but in this case, there's a lot of stuff going on in here. So I'm going to Control X, put this in here. I'm going to do I think we're going to do one last little fun function here before leaving. So I'm going to actually move these over a little bit for everybody. Kind of cool that we got in biology, we got all these fun majors, right? Oh shoot, my laundry's going off. That's a beeping. All right, that means we're almost out of time. So I'm going to say, this is a very cool one. This is our last one. I'm going to say count if range is in blue. Okay, so that's my range. Criteria, though, is going to have to say that category right there. Saying how many times does biomedical science come up? I'm going to hit enter 37 times. Now, if I scroll down, though, the problem is that range, that little blue, is going to keep going down with it. There's a very easy way to fix that. Watch this. So what I'm going to say right here, remember I told you guys there's a way to lock data? That blue data right there, that range, I want to make sure that it stays in that section right there, right? So what I'm going to do is if I want it to just stay in that 162 cells that I've got highlighted, $signs. AM is the column. I'm locking the column. 3 is the beginning of the row. I'm locking that row. Again, AM is the column, but then the final row is 164. I'm locking it up. The range, the red, or the criteria, I'm going to leave that. And now, if I copy this equation down here, everybody is getting red. How many times does biomedical show up in that giant range up there? Yeah, the word biomedical and biomedical science need to be put in. But yeah, then you can see exactly how many of each of these majors you have. And again, conditional formatting doesn't just do colors. Sometimes you can even do like a small little, like just a little quick graph. You would never like publish or use this, but it's good to see, right? It's kind of fun. But I think I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to check my notes one last time. I feel pretty good about this as sort of an intro to how to navigate and organize data. We will do more advanced stuff as we keep going and, do analyses, some other fun stuff in here, do some VLOOKUP, my favorite, to stitch data together, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you for joining. Hopefully this is a good intro to navigate the stuff, especially if you're just watching for fun, bioinformatics, or my research. This is a very good place that you're at. Thank you.